No protagonist is complete without a cast of supporting characters, an array of interesting settings, and a good villain. Those are the cornerstones of character development. So in this video, I'm going to talk about 6 elements that you want to surround your hero with in order to develop them. Think of these like hero fertilizer. What's up, guys? Michael around with Author Level Up here, helping you write world-class stories better and faster. And I create these videos because I believe that each of you has Stephen King level quality inside you, and you just need help unlocking it. So if you're new here, consider subscribing and click that little bell, ding, 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 to get notifications whenever I have a new video. This is another video in my How to Write Engaging Main Characters season, where I talk about how to develop characters, how to write engaging main characters that your readers will never forget. And in this video, we're talking about hero fertilizer. Okay, I'm kidding when I say that, but really, no protagonist exists in isolation. They need certain things along their journey to help them become what they need to become in order to succeed against the villain. And these 6 elements that I'm going to talk about are a lot like fertilizer because they really do help the hero along, just like fertilizer helps a plant grow. When writers think about character development, they think usually strictly in terms of what the character does or the things that the character does to develop themselves. But there's another way to think about this, right? So think about your own life and think about the last life lesson you learned, the last skill that you learned. How did you grow from that experience? I'm betting that you didn't wake up on a Friday morning and say, you know what, I want to make an impact in the world, so I'm going to go learn CPR, damn it. No, it doesn't work that way. Instead, you probably learned that skill or that lesson because of something that happened to you or something that happened to you that forced you to respond. So maybe you learned CPR because you happened to see someone have a heart attack at a local department store, or maybe someone close to you passed away and you weren't able to give CPR, right? I mean, there are things that happen to us in our lives that make us think about our lives and make us think about who we are and what we want to contribute to society. That's how character development comes about. So that's the key. The character develops because of things that happen to them, not because of things that they do. So let's jump into the elements here. Element number 1 is a supporting cast of characters that have skills that your main character lacks. So the reason this works so well is because your main character is your main character for a reason, but they can't be perfect, right? Nobody likes overpowered main characters. So to have a cast of characters around them that complement their skills, 1, that's just good leadership, but 2, it makes things interesting because then when you come to parts in the story where the main character doesn't have a skill, you can let that supporting character shine, and you can let the main character and the supporting character have some back and forth, and maybe they don't agree on certain things, and so that develops the character because maybe you have a main character that's hard-headed and stubborn, and they've got to finally come around to the fact that they actually need that supporting character to succeed. That's just an example. To give you another example, in my last Dragon Lord series, my main character is an anti-hero, and it's a bloodthirsty dragon lord named Dark. And Dark is a supreme manipulator. He's very eloquent. He's a brutal dictator, and he does a lot of things right. But one of the things that he can't do in his reign is he can't know what's going on in his kingdom at all times by himself. So he needs an entourage of dragons who will help support him. So he's got a dragon that's in charge of kind of like the dragon military. He's got eyes all around his kingdom. He has a trusted advisor. He's got all these dragons around him that help him see what he can't see, right? Because that's how genius he is. But his problem is that he can't really read what's going on in the minds of his advisors because he trusts them so much, which is a character flaw, which causes him some major trouble in the beginning of the book. That's an example of surrounding your hero with a cast of characters that have things that they don't. And you see this all throughout literature and all throughout films and television, right? So Harry Potter has Ron and Hermione. Sherlock Holmes has Watson. This is why buddy cop TV shows work so well. Element number 2 is a villain. So this is pretty straightforward and basic, but one of the things that I like to talk about with villains that I've been saying throughout this entire season of character development and writing main characters is that if you took your hero and you took your villain and you switch them, would they deserve each other? So if your villain suddenly became the hero of your story, would they deserve that character? Because one of the things that I say is that heroes get the villain they deserve, but it's also true that villains get the hero that they deserve if you're writing anti-heroes. So that's another interesting way to think about it. So if your villain is the second most important character in the story. So if you flip things on their head, and if the villain were the hero of the story, is the villain surrounded with a cast of characters that are around them? Is the villain surrounded by interesting settings? Does the villain have a team of people around him or her that have skills that they lack? All the elements that I talk about that apply to a main character also equally apply to the villain. Now, the villain's not going to get as much character development as the hero will, but a lot of villains, and it's a modern trend, within the last 50 years or so, it's normal for villains to get some level of humanization, right? People want to be able to understand where the villain is coming from, and the way you help them understand where that villain is coming from is you give them a level of stunted development, not quite as much as the main character, but you do give them some development. Element number 3 is interesting minor characters. So minor characters are the fuel and the engine for a lot of the interactions that your main character is going to have throughout the story. And so just making them interesting and painting them with a couple of interesting brush strokes here and there is a valuable skill, and it will serve your protagonist well. Now we're going to shift gears a little bit and talk about settings. So these are different types of settings that you can surround your hero with in order to develop them. So remember, we talk about how things happen to the character. So these settings are going to help you develop your character a little bit more. And so element number 4 is a setting that the hero likes or a setting that the hero loves. So putting them in a setting like this will allow you to do some interesting things with backstory and interesting things to allow you to get into the head of why a character likes a setting like that, which I think readers enjoy. So another example from my own fiction, to give you an example of how I use this practically, right, is my Good Necromancer series. In that series, my main character, Lester, he spends a fair amount of time at his house because people come and visit him, or he's strategizing, and near the end of the book, the bad guys kind of gang up on him in his house. And so his house is a 120-year-old home. It's got a lot of character, a lot of interesting architecture, and in some respects, the house itself is a character. And so putting Lester in that house, and you can kind of see his history and his backstory. He comes across things frequently from his past that remind him of his wife, or remind him of his dad and his mom that also lived in that house and handed it down to him. And so that's an interesting way to put a character in an environment where they feel safe and they feel comforted. Element number 5 is the exact opposite, and that is a setting that the hero absolutely hates. So if you've got a hero slogging through the sewers and they're deathly afraid of rats, then that's a prime opportunity to show how the hero deals with adversity. Because I can guarantee you there's going to be a lot of rats in that sewer. So how does the hero deal with that? How do they deal with that situation? How do they get out of that situation? And I think those types of settings give you a really good opportunity to show how the reader deals with, or how the character deals with stress. And element number 6 is a setting that the hero has never been to before, right? So you've got a setting that the hero loves, a setting that the hero hates, but then to add an element of intrigue to this, where are places that the hero has just never been before that they're intrigued by, right? And this could be anywhere in the story. It could be an enchanted forest, to kind of use a fantasy example. Now, the reason this works so well is because the readers are going to see that setting through the eyes of the character, and they're going to see how the character interacts with it, how they deal with things that come up unexpectedly. How does the character deal with spontaneity? Things that happen just randomly. Are they very rigid and they don't like spontaneity, or do they just kind of roll with the punches? These are great ways to do that, as well as just great ways to sharpen your skill of writing with sensory details, right? So using the 5 senses to pull in readers and keep them grounded so that they can really see the setting, they can see it, they can hear it, they can feel it. And a setting that your hero has never experienced before is a great opportunity for you to do that and to help bring your reader along for the ride as they build that relationship with your character. I don't think I threw any hot golden nuggets at you guys with this video, but the key is to recognize these elements and recognize the wonder and the power that they have over your readers, and then learn how to get better and more intentional as you're writing them on the page. So don't forget to watch the rest of the How to Write Engaging Main Characters season here on Author Level Up, where I go into more tips exactly like the ones in this video to help you write more engaging characters and more engaging fiction as a result. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.